Hey everyone, James Labrie from Dream Theater, and you're listening to or watching the podcast Talking into Infinity with JT and Brian. Enjoy this. These guys are extremely informative. I love their dialogue. I love their interpretation of the songs, who and what we are, what we were going after. They're very accurate in their interpretations and descriptions, and I just think this is a great show, and these guys are doing a stand-up stellar job. So once again, enjoy Talking into Infinity with JT and Brian.
Welcome to another episode of Talking into Infinity, a Dream Theater podcast. I am your host, John. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, talkingintoinfinity.com, and the CMSnetwork.com. We are live at those four locations every other Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to catch video replays of the show, check out our YouTube channel, or you can go to Heavy Metal Television the Friday after we record our live episodes, and the video replays will be there. And if you want to check out the show in audio format, just Google Talking into Infinity podcast, and we are pretty much everywhere you get your podcasts. So let's bring in my good friend and co-host, Brian. How is it going, man?
It's going good, man. How about you?
Pretty good. By the end of this weekend, I am going to be so sick and tired of Italian sausage. It's crazy. Like, I have been cooking all week. My family, the third weekend in November every year, gets together. My uncle goes to the butcher and gets a ton of ground pork and
nice.
increments of 10-pound bags. And he's like, "How much do you want?" So I'm making 20 pounds this weekend, and I cannot get the recipe right. So I've been futzing with this recipe for the last couple days, and then we try everybody's recipes on Saturday after we stuff everything, and a lot of innuendo here, I know, so control yourself, but
right.
But
That's low hanging fruit. I won't even bother.
yeah. So yeah, by the end of this weekend, I'm going to be sick and tired of any kind of sausage. So yeah, I will. It's enjoyable, but I will have gained about 5 pounds in the process too. So
Nice. So I have a question. Is that why have you been slacking on your heavy metal news updates?
I have been, and that unfortunately is the reason. I literally the last 3 nights I've been in the kitchen like all night.
Okay.
And then I was putting everything together. I finally decided, like, all right, I can't really do much more with this, so I put the seasoning together tonight. So we go over there tomorrow and mix everything, leave it overnight so that the flavor sets in, and then you stuff it on Saturday and off you go. So yeah, I've literally been in the kitchen all of the past 3 nights.
So those who don't know, John and I and a couple other people actually on the Heavy Metal Television News Network, or Heavy Metal Television, we actually do a couple news updates a week. They're usually about 2 to 3 minutes. We do stories on upcoming albums, tours, books, DVDs coming out, just about anything. I did one on absolutely your favorite band of all time today. I just did one on the new Korn single.
Okay.
So.
I thought you were going to say Ted Nugent. Ted Nugent's the one that'll get me rolling.
No, I wouldn't. I would refuse to probably review that just because I really don't like Ted Nugent anymore. I did at one point, but I love the new Korn. It's got it's almost got a 9 Inch Nails type of feel to it, which I know is another one of your completely favorite bands too.
Yeah.
So you'll totally hate it, but it's crazy. There's like so much really good new music that I've been just digging lately. Like the new Bullet for My Valentine came out. I absolutely love it.
My brother said that record's really good. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, the stuff they released was real more of the growly, thrashy, because they were like, oh, we're gonna get heavy. But then you got to listen to about 4 songs in. About the last 6 songs, they really got the hooks and melodies going. Because I don't mind the heavy, raspy kind of guttery vocal as long as you got the the melodic, clean stuff to mix in with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just like so much good new stuff coming out right now. Like I'm still playing a lot of the new Trivium. I love that. And I don't know, just tons of great stuff coming out.
Yep. I'll admit it. I'm still stuck on the new Dream Theater record and the Mammoth WVH album.
Yeah.
And I scored tickets to opening night of that tour with Dirty Honey in Chicago, so I'll be doing that.
Oh, okay.
So that'll be cool. Yeah, I just can't get enough of that Mammoth record, dude. I mean, it really surprised me.
Now, is he coming back here then or no?
No.
No.
The closest he's coming was Columbus, and that was like the third date of the tour on a Monday night. And I was like, I'd rather go to Chicago on opening night on a Friday. So
When is that, in the spring then, or?
no, January 21st.
Oh wow. Okay.
So yeah, that's only like 2 months away. So yes, speaking of tours, I guess Dream Theater made their rescheduled tour dates official. Was it yesterday or the day before? And boy, there are some cities that are pissed off, man. I don't know if you've kept up on that, but they, man, I think Seattle got hosed. Like theirs didn't get rescheduled.
Oh wow.
There was a New York show that didn't get rescheduled, and people are just throwing a fit, man. They are not happy at all.
Well, we're probably lucky then, because we're definitely a smaller market than Seattle.
Well,
and
yeah,
New York, that's for damn sure.
Yeah, especially considering they're coming to Akron.
Right.
I mean, that's smaller than Cleveland. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, and ours, like like I told you, ours is on a Wednesday now, which is not as cool as it being on a Friday, but it gives me a few days to recover because it's like 3 days before my birthday, and I'm actually singing on my birthday. So
Oh wow.
I'll yell my head off on a Wednesday night for Dream Theater, and then on my birthday that Saturday, I'll go and perform. So
Is that anywhere around here, or?
yeah, Mary Arts down in Lakewood. So
okay, I'll have to try to come out.
yeah, it's cool. It's a later gig. They have you play 10 to 1:30. It's late, but it's a cool little place. So
That's cool.
yeah. So all right, so tonight we're just kind of winging it, and we always have a set topic, and we're always like very on point. We're like, let's just bullshit and see where it goes. But we do have kind of a loose topic, and you and I were talking about Dream Theater side projects. And I thought it would be a good thing to bring to the show, because there's so many to choose from, and it's weird. I know that there's some stuff I'm going to bring up that might be kind of surprising, so I'll be interested to get your take on it. There's our buddy JG3. What's up, man? Good to see you. Thanks for jumping in. So, how much of the Dream Theater side stuff have you actually listened to? Because I know there is a lot of it.
I would say out of each project they've had, I've at least listened to like a full album.
Okay.
And some stuff a lot more, and certain ones only have a couple albums. Certain have like 5 or 6 now. Like Transatlantic is, I don't even know how many. Plus they've got these double albums and these double live albums. And so yeah, I probably the only one, I guess. Let's see, Flying Colors. I don't think I've listened to. That might be about the only one.
I've heard a little bit of that. It's kind of cool. Joey Montalto, what's up, man? There's Puziani there. He's always changing his name on us, but you're not fooling me, dude.
Oh, okay.
What's up, man? So there's our good buddy Joey over there. Puziani. Yeah, I checked it out, and it's cool, man. It's more on the melodic side, obviously. I kind of got it. To me, it was a little more straightforward than some of the other stuff that Portnoy has done. Yeah, I mean, full disclosure, Portnoy's not the band, obviously, but we are going to be talking about Portnoy side projects on this. So, yeah, that one I'm not really overly familiar with, same as you. And some of the stuff gets a little repetitious for me, like Transatlantic is good, but I think it's, it kind of falls into that category of, okay, well, I kind of heard this before from them. I mean, I'm not saying like, oh, it sounds like somebody else, but
yeah, I actually decided to go back and listen to a bunch, especially of the newer double album, and I came up with this concept of what they are. They're too hippie. There's like a hippie element to it. I don't know. It's like there's flowers and we're all one with the universe, and it's like a happy. There's too much of that vibe, I think, going on throughout at least this newest album. Like, I understand that their influences are, Kansas, ELP, and Genesis and all those bands like that. But you know, his voice and sometimes it's just a little bit too almost Grateful Dead-y. Like, I don't know. That was just the word I thought of. Like, it's like Flower People hippie-ish on top of kind of prog music at times.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the entire catalog's like that, but from what I've heard before, it seems like there's always a little element of that to it, and it kind of takes away a bit for me.
I would agree with you on that. JG3, however, says, I will not tolerate transatlantic slander, good sir. So
Hey, that's not slander. That's hate speech. There's a difference.
We got to use the proper terminology. So I think he's kind of on your side. He says their newest album's not my favorite. First 3 albums are a jam, though. Are you drinking wine?
I am actually, yeah.
Look at you snob.
Yeah, this is the expensive stuff. I mean, this is the kind of where you hand them like a 10 or something, and you don't even get $3-4 back. So,
wow,
I
you
did
splurged.
splurged. I did, yes.
So Puziani, look, he changed his name mid-show. Puziani says best side project is Labrie Arion, The Human Equation. Well, where do you stand on that one? That one's actually pretty good.
That's not an entire project though, is it? Isn't that just like one song?
I think, yeah.
I mean, I love Arion. So, speaking of Labrie, I came across when I was doing it in Spotify the other day. There's a version of Motley Crue. Kickstart My Heart. I couldn't think of the damn title. Yeah.
Yeah, by what, Falset, right? His
I don't
kids
even
band?
know. Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, that's his kids band.
Okay, I didn't know what that was, but that's him singing, I guess.
No, dude, I thought it was cool when they go into that that really heavy part. That was pretty funny, man. That's hilarious.
Yeah,
man.
I like the sound of the guitars on that. I thought they sounded just ginormous, you know.
Yeah, no, it was a cool cover because they didn't try to stray too far from it. I'm never a fan of these bands when they like, oh, I'm going to cover this song and then they just jack it all up. Like, well, what's the point? I mean, I've never understood that.
I'm kind of on the fence. I mean, like, I don't mind if you do something totally way outside the box original, but it kind of has to either be that or note for note. Like, it's sort of like when you're in between, I think, is when I'm.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
But, you know, speaking of Labrie, I came up with another thought concerning him. Like, and I have a question for you. Does it surprise you that all of his solo stuff is so rock? You know, just kind of boom rock in your face. I don't want to say basic, but I don't know. It just struck me as like, it just knowing his vocals and knowing what he does in Dream Theater and listening to those albums again. Like, I love him to death, but it seems like a weird fit. Like, it's not what I would expect him to do.
No, I mean his background wasn't really in progressive stuff. Like when he was, you know, in the Winter Rose days and before that and whatnot, he was, you know, in the cover bands he was playing in. It was, you know, straight up rock. Really, I mean, he was into Rush and those bands and everything. But, you know, I see. To me, it would be like if you or I jumped into a progressive band, like. We'd be like, oh, that's that progressive guy. But then when we get out on our own, you know, we're going to be playing rock tunes. It's like, so, not really. It's,
No.
I honestly, if anything surprised me about his solo stuff was how heavy some of it was. Like, you know, especially, you know, you got the Cookie Monster vocals and parts, and then, you know, that, you know, Elements of Persuasion. There's some really like drop tune stuff. And, you know, the first tune comes in, it's just like, you know, thrash beat. And you're like, what the hell is this?
Oh, especially like the last 2 albums. I mean, there are so many hooks on there. There's more hooks on there than there are at Bass Pro Shops. There's more hooks on there than there are on the fireplace at Christmas time for hanging the stockings. Hang on,
you're reading off a list, aren't you?
Hey, I can't memorize my own incredible material.
Oh my Lord.
No, but like especially the last 2 albums, man. I mean, I love it. It's like 4.5 minutes. You know, the riff hits you right away. The vocal hook, you know, melody is right there right away.
Yeah.
And it's just like, boom, you know, you get in and you get out. You don't have any 7-minute songs. You don't have anything that's too long. And it's just like, and most of the riffs are cool. You know, it's not like, sometimes you get like solo albums from, you know, guys, and it's just like, okay, that's pretty stock. And it's just a dude singing over it, you know, but like, to me, the riffs are still there, you know?
Yeah. Buddy, Cale McLeish. He says, to be fair, when you're in something as progressive as Dream Theater, it makes sense to do something a lot more straight as your side solo project. Otherwise, you get burned out, I think. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. That's why it's always interesting to me when these guys, you know, branch out and do solo albums that basically sound exactly like the band they came from. Yeah. It's always odd to me. But, yeah, no, I completely agree with you. You know, like you say, especially that last record, and you know, I think we talked about it before. That, you know, he sat down and they wrote the choruses first, and then he just, you know, he made the choruses enormous, and then wrote the rest of the song around it. which it's a great way to do it. Very smart. So that was cool. And we talked to Wayne, our buddy Wayne Joyner, and he's doing videos for James's new solo record. He says that the new record's kick ass.
Yep.
He said it's phenomenal. So there'll be more of that coming out. Like I was always bummed that he never toured it. He had a tour scheduled 2 records ago, and then he ended up scrapping it. And I had interviewed him for something around that time, and I asked him about it. He's like, yeah, we're gonna try and reschedule it, but it never happened. But they were gonna play the Agora Ballroom, so it was like a place that held like 600 people, 700 people. So that would have been a really cool venue to see him
yeah,
at. But
sure.
Adam Rishog, he's back again. What's up, man? He says the best side project is the Neomorphs band, and it's not even close in my opinion. Similitude of a Dream is better than 95% of Dream Theater albums. I'm going to vociferously disagree with you. I am not really a fan of the Neomorphs band stuff. Where do you? Sorry, Adam. No offense. I know them's fighting words, but where do you stand on the Neomorphs band, Brian?
Kind of the same place. I don't know that I think it's all that necessarily different from some of the stuff Transatlantic does. Some of it, but yeah, I feel like it's kind of weird when you go to all the projects that Portnoy's in, because it's like, does he really? I don't know how to phrase this. Does he really make it better? Does he really make it stand out? And would you even really go care and listen to it if Portnoy wasn't in it? You know what I'm saying? Like on some of that stuff, I don't know that does he really necessarily add all that much. I don't know.
Well, I think you make a good point. I mean, I think that in those bands he brings cachet. I mean the music might be the same,
right?
Without him, but I think without him it also doesn't get attention because he's so out there, to his fan base, and
right.
How many people are going to see Neomorphs or who really knew about him until Portnoy was, teaming up with him a bunch? I mean, the really hardcore fans would know him, but it's not as, it's just not as in people's face, in people's faces, because Portnoy is such a promotion whore for everything he does.
Right.
And people want to see the guy, he just attracts attention. He attracts fans. And, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really think that his biggest contribution is the cachet.
Yeah.
So I mean, all these bands, if you took out, let's say in Transatlantic, if you took Portnoy out and you put in like Marco Miniman, or somebody like that, like it wouldn't be as big. Even though drum nerds know Marco Miniman, especially now that he was in that documentary, that Dream Theater did when he was one of the 2 finalists for the drum spot. But even though that guy is absolutely world class, like one of the greatest drummers on the planet, it wouldn't be as big of a deal. So,
no, that's true. Plus, Portnoy is, we've long discussed about when he was in the band. He was always kind of sort of the driving force, to just sort of keep pushing them forward and keep them on track and keep them out there.
Yeah.
So when he gets into a project like that, it's the same thing. I'm sure. It's like 100 miles ahead. We're going to promote the hell out of it. I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to, like you said, I'm going to get my fan base backing it, and every contact I have at every label and media company and whatever.
Yep. No, I totally agree. JG3, I think he hits on a great point here. I was actually going to bring this up while we're on the topic. The one big bust for me was Adrenaline Mob. It just never gelled. Plus, the band was seemingly cursed. Yeah, that was. I completely agree with you. Adrenaline Mob, and also I might catch a lot of crap for this one. I am not a Winery Dogs fan either, but I think the main thing for me is twofold. I don't like Billy Sheehan's bass tone. He's an ungodly good player, just phenomenal. But I have never liked his bass tone. And Richie Kotzen, great player, very underrated singer, I think. But he sounds really close to Chris Cornell. And as much as Chris Cornell was a world-class vocalist, I can't stand the guy's voice. So as soon as he started singing in that band, I was like, nope, not for me. Like, can't do it. So
Yeah, when it comes to I'll address Adrenaline Mob first. That was the coolest thing they did was their cover of Mob Rules. I love Russell Allen's
yeah,
voice on that because he's to me has always sort of been almost a modern day Dio. He's kind of in that vocal range, but there's a little bit, he's got the power behind it, but he's got the rasp, but he could still really carry a melody great.
yeah,
But that jet band just couldn't, they were just like second and third rate, 90s sort of, early 2000s rehashed, sort of trying to be heavy. The songs just were not there. And it's a shame because, those, like, he is one of my favorite vocalists, but, I don't think Portnoy, a band, was that even, I mean, Portnoy was only even on one album, I think, wasn't he? And I don't even know if they got a tour out of that.
yeah. It was that first one, Omerta.
Yeah.
And then I don't.
They did a second one, but I don't even think anyone else was in it other than maybe Russell Allen.
Yeah, I wasn't like a fan, so I didn't really, I did not really pay attention. So,
but yeah, Winery Dogs, I think that's kind of one of those bands that, if you got to see them live, would be kind of cool for maybe like a 40-minute set or something. I wouldn't want to sit up there and watch it for an hour and a half. But if it's part of like a 2 or 3 band bill, and you get to see those 3 guys up on stage and live and jamming away for 40 minutes or so, I bet it's a pretty cool experience. But yeah, I think on album, I don't know that it songs and I'm okay with his voice, but I think it's sort of like every song is just like pushed so beyond over the top, vocally.
Yeah.
Like even Chris Cornell didn't sing that way throughout the whole song, especially later in his career on the later Soundgarden stuff. There were a lot of mellow, a lot of mellow moments on that before he would get into that. And it just sometimes feels like Kotzen is just 300 miles an hour, trying to push that thing. And it's like, it gets to be a little overkill in my opinion.
Yeah. So Kale, thank you for this. Kale says that Portnoy did Omerta and Coverta. And JG3 says the second record was the one where the drummer passed away. So there's our answer to Adrenaline Mob.
I thought it was the bass player.
Yeah,
the guy. The guy
I thought
who
it was too.
The guy who was friends with Jeff Scott Soto, right?
The one that
David Z or whatever.
Yeah, Kings of July or whatever that. Yeah, David Z. Thank you. Yeah, that Kings of July tune, was written about him. Yeah.
Desolate July.
Desolate July. Thank you. Sorry.
Oh, AJ Pirro. That's right. He was an Adrenaline Mob. Okay, I see what they're saying now.
Oh, okay. Was AJ Pirro an Adrenaline Mob? I did not know that.
I had sort of forgot, but.
Oh yeah, I guess he was. Yeah. Okay. I never knew that. All right. Here's a good one. Kale. Yep. AJ. Okay. There we go. So JG3. AJ Pirro died in 2014. Bassist died in 2017. Okay. And their manager too. Kale McLeish brings up a good one. PSMS was kind of fun. I have that on Blu-ray. That actually was really cool. Have you ever seen that one?
That's the one with McAlpine?
Yeah, Portnoy, Sheehan, McAlpine, Sherinian.
Yeah, I ended up I picked a song on that when we did the projects. Yeah, that is a cool, I've watched it on YouTube, a lot of videos from that. That is very cool.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. I got a free copy of that when one of my buddies who works in radio gets a whole bunch of stuff, and he's like, I have no need for this, and just handed it to me. I was like, sweet. So got some free entertainment on Blu-ray out of that, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, that was fun, especially, there was a lot of stuff from like Change of Seasons on there. Or I wouldn't say a lot, but they did some of that material, which was really cool, I thought. All right, so Joe Gebhardt is tuning in. What's up, man? Good to see you. He's got an opinion on that Neomorphs thing we were talking about. I wouldn't think Neomorphs band could be considered a side project since Portnoy isn't in the band and it's one of his main bands.
I thought he was on the albums though.
Yeah, he's on the albums, Joe. And I mean, he was doing that stuff when he was in Dream Theater. So I would I'm the host of the show, damn it, and I say that it counts as a side project.
I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know as much about it as you, but I thought he was on albums with that project. But
yeah, no, I know for a fact that he is. Yeah, I just not my thing. Yeah, Yeah, so you know what I wanted to bring up when we were talking about Labrie, by the way, and this isn't technically, I mean, this is like too far down the rabbit hole, but as long as we're just kind of free forming it tonight. You know who I discovered because of the Labrie solo stuff that I absolutely love is that guitar player that he works with, Marcos Fogli. His solo records are awesome. I love that stuff.
Yeah, I think you sent me a track or two, and I listened to it, and I really liked it.
Yeah, he's got. I think it's 3 albums because that's what I have in my Amazon account, and he's got one of them's called Remarkable.
Oh, nice.
It's like, all right, cool, but yeah, it's I guess it gets a little bit progressive here and there, but it's mostly kind of just straight up rock, metal, instrumental stuff, and it's just it's got hooks for days for an instrumental record, and it's great stuff to listen to if you're just kind of looking for something to jam to, like if you're at work or something. Man, it's fantastic. I go back to that stuff a lot.
So it's got more hooks than Joanne Fabrics. It's
Still
got
going.
more.
I was wondering if you had more on your list.
It's got more hooks than the towel rack in the locker room at the YMCA. All right, sorry. That's all I have.
Oh my God. Oh jeez, we are terrible with those. Well, I shouldn't say we. You are.
Yeah,
but
no, I'm pretty bad.
But yeah, Marcos Fogli, man. I'm a huge fan of his stuff. And if any of you guys have not checked that out, I would highly recommend it because it is phenomenal, guitar instrumental music. It's really, really good. He's got a real strong sense of melody like Portnoy does, Petrucci does, and it's great. I mean, I'll actually like back to back the Petrucci and the Marcos Fogli stuff, and it makes for a really cool listen because Marcos is a little more straightforward. You get a little more proggy stuff with Petrucci, and so it's a great combination. So that's definitely cool. Have you found anybody like that, like through one of the Dream Theater side projects, or like somebody you didn't know about and you went and looked them up and were like, holy crap, I actually like this?
Don't think offhand, but speaking of, I really, really got into, when we decided to do this a couple days ago, I decided to dig back into the Jelly Jam stuff.
Yeah.
The 2016 album Prophet. Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah.
But the only thing with it is it almost kind of goes back to the Portnoy thing with the other bands. Like I would have no idea John Mayung is in that because it sounds exactly like a Ty Tabor solo album or the King's X songs where Doug Pinnick is not the lead vocalist.
Mm-hmm.
Now the main difference is they don't have those gigantic 4 and 5, 3-part harmonies or whatever that King's X had going on.
Yeah.
Throughout the song, but man, what a great album! It's just got that super laid back. He's got that John Lennon, just silky smooth delivery going over that distorted, one of a kind Ty Tabor sound, and I love that album. But again, you would just, you would have no idea John Mayung has anything to do with that band listening to it.
Yeah, it's weird. Like when I go listen to some of these things, I'm very frequently surprised because it's not anything that I would have expected to hear, and I think this is a perfect example. You're like, what the hell?
Yeah,
like what Kale was saying. Like if you're gonna go do like a side project, do something different when you do a solo project. This is definitely in that vein.
Yep.
So that's what other ones I forgot about by Portnoy. I forgot about when he did those like the tribute bands. Like he had the Rush tribute and he had the Beatles tribute. Like I had completely forgotten that he had done those. So those I don't know, like really count those because it's basically just playing covers. But
right.
I suppose we could. So JG3 says, speaking of Petrucci, I've really warmed up to his playing on A View from the Top of the World. It's been such a grower of an album, and I really feel it now. I think there was so much going on; it was tough to digest. Yeah, it's still something. It's still something, growing on me as well. So I would agree with that. So I'm still digging through it personally. So for me, I think it's. Like I said, we'll get into this when we do our deep dive and our rankings and stuff. Like, it's still probably middle of the pack for me, but I'm sure it has been going up as I listen to it more and more. So
really like that comment that there was a lot going on. Now it's easy to
yeah,
say that about almost any Dream Theater album, but I really do feel that with this album. Like you know, you're kind of listening and you're like, all right, well, where's my ear supposed to go here sometimes?
yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's not like a super complex album either, but it's just, I don't know, there's just kind of a wash of sounds at times, and you're like, there's times when I'm not even sure exactly what Jordan's playing, or like, is that the guitar? You know, sometimes it's like, sometimes even those little things are like difficult to digest and figure out. But yeah, you know, I think you said grower the first time. Wayne said grower. You know,
yeah.
we've all kind of said that, and yeah, it just does not sound, other than like maybe one or two songs, it doesn't sound anything at all like the last album. And you know, that's what we generally like, but it also sometimes it catches us off guard, like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. It's, you know, to me, it's still kind of sounding like one big piece of music kind of chopped into pieces, with the exception of maybe the Alien. You know, the Alien is still the standout track for me. So
I still love Transcending Time. I think that's just a huge giant fat single. I'm kind of shocked they didn't actually make that the first single. It's so, just got such a ginormous chorus, but
yeah, dude, honestly, that's probably my least favorite song on the record.
because it sounds like Rush.
No, no, it has nothing to do with that.
Oh, really?
I have a different reason. I will save for, you know, a later episode. But yeah, that's my least favorite one, I think. Um, so back into the side project stuff. Since you just mentioned Jordan and Petrucci and stuff like that, where are you at with Liquid Tension Experiment?
I think it's good. You know, I don't think I can sit and listen to an entire album of that. As cool as it is, you know, that would probably be another one if I got to see it live. Maybe 55 minutes tops is about all I need. Like, when everyone is just an amazing player, it can almost be like the comment that he said, like, it's almost too much to digest. Like, there's too much going on. It's like, okay, we're too good. You know, it's stupid as it sounds.
Yeah, it
And
gets.
I think it also gets a little repetitive too. You know, when you don't have the vocals to break it up, and I don't know. I don't think the third one is, you know, really all that much different from what they did in the first two, personally.
Yeah,
But
I think ranking those albums would be really easy because they came out in the order you'd rank them. Like, I think, you know, the first one's the best, the second one is the second best, the third one's the third best. Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I like it, but I think it's one of those things that you like in smaller doses. I've never really sat through an entire record all the way through one time. It's kind of like you said. There's a ton going on, and I think it can be overwhelming. Which I was found to be weird because we listen to Dream Theater and there's a ton of stuff to digest there. But you know, maybe
I don't know.
maybe
I just feel from an instrumental standpoint, like, I don't know, you get the same four guys or whatever in a room, and how many different albums can you make if you're not going to have vocals on them? I don't know. In this genre and this style, I guess, is my point.
well, I think that the problem that you run into, you have pretty much an unlimited palette with which to work because you don't have to write parts with vocals in mind. So you don't have to be like, okay, we need a chorus riff. Like, we need something really catchy to sing over. Um, but by the same token, when you don't have that, it gets real easy to just put parts together. And there's no anchor there that you land on. So I think, you know, your point about not having a chorus is spot on because, you know, that's the one thing that keeps Dream Theater grounded are these big choruses that they have. So you've got something to land on. Whereas with stuff like Liquid Tension Experiment, and I found this to be the case with the most recent record, you know, at least on the first album, they did kind of land on some stuff to kind of give you a break from all the noodly parts. But this most recent record didn't really do that. I didn't hear a lot of that. It was just a lot of noodling. And you know, whether that's a product of, you know, how short of a time frame they have to get the stuff done, you know, because they just go in there and start jamming and recording what comes out. You know, there's not a lot of production to it. So I don't know if it's that or they just don't care. It's weird, but I'm with you, man. I'm with you. K.O. McLeish, he said about my my take on transcending time. We need to hear it now that you brought it up. And I said, I'm not doing it. And Joe Gebhardt says, it's his podcast, damn it. Joe's getting with it. All right. I like it.
Well,
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I don't want to give away something that, it'll definitely kind of spoil parts of a couple upcoming episodes. So I gotta keep that to myself so that I don't ruin some upcoming stuff we're doing. So.
Well, one final thing on liquid tension, and this could be totally not true, but this is what I feel. I don't think Petrucci is going to put his best riffs into a liquid tension. Those are going to be on a solo album, and those are going to be on a Dream Theater album.
Don't you just wonder if that's the case? Like his solo stuff, and then the side projects are all crap that Dream Theater's like, we don't want that. And then he's like, well, fine, I'll go put it on my solo record then, you jerk.
Well, no, I love the riffs on his solo stuff, but I don't those kind of big monster, just really unique riffs that I just don't think those are there on a lot of the liquid tension stuff. But
no, I agree. Joe Gebhardt asks, has John Mayung ever ventured outside of Dream Theater to do anything? We talked a few minutes ago, man, about he's got a side project called Jelly Jam. I know he's done Platypus.
Now that's with Doug Pinnick, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah. I
have not heard that.
I am trying to remember. I feel like I'm missing one. I'm sure Kale will probably correct us on this, but yeah, I am just trying to think. No, I mean those are the two that I'm aware of. So let's see. Oh, here we go. Okay. So if you go under his Wikipedia, Jelly Jam's got 4 records. Platypus has 2. He's on something called Gordian Knot and something called Explorers Club. So I don't know if those are full records or what the heck those are, but yeah, there are other things. Wow, it's got some interesting people in here. Yeah, so he's
John Mayung's not a guy that bands are lining up to join just for the exact opposite reason of Mike Portnoy.
Yeah, right.
I mean, the last thing he's going to do is promote anything or talk about it.
Right? Did you see the one Dream Theater fan Facebook page? Someone photoshopped a smile on his face.
No,
and it just looked. I mean, and it looks like a real picture. But like all these people, like you could tell like the hardcore fans, because there are people going, man, he looks great when he smiles. He should do that more often. Half it was that, half it was this is obviously photoshopped. I was one of them because I'm like, he has never ever smiled in any picture ever, dude. Like that is.
I think if there's one guy in all of music, like you would love to just like be able to get inside his brain when he's just sitting there, because he never like, what is he thinking about? Like, is he just going, God, these people are just all complete idiots. I'm so superior to them in every way, and I want nothing to do with their complete lack of intelligence and
right.
artistic integrity or anything. I'm just up here to play bass. Like
those recent interviews where they actually ask him a direct question in his head, he's going, shit.
Yeah, right.
So look at JG3. How do you not know about the Gordian Knot? I mean, it's practically a household name. Oh, now he feels bad. He says, oh, man, Gordian Knot has Sean Malone, who's the bassist for Cynic that recently died. Yeah, so, all right, well, there you go. So, yeah, there's some famous dudes in that band. Yeah. And Joe, don't worry about jumping in late and not hearing that, man. It's not, no harm, no foul, because, we're here to talk about the side stuff, and we found some stuff we didn't know. So, so I hopefully this doesn't piss off like the Dream Theater guys if they ever listen to the show.
Uh-oh.
But I think Kale, care to elaborate on that, John? No.
I did. I said 2 words.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So I think we definitely like. I know you and I are on the same page in this one. I want to talk about a little bit of Sons of Apollo, because if we're talking about a Dream Theater side project, I know it's not a side project, but considering it's got 2/5 of the lineup from my favorite Dream Theater record, you know, if you're gonna hold a gun to my head and say you have to listen to something outside of Dream Theater that has Dream Theater members, like it's always going to be Sons of Apollo. And I love those 2 records. I love the live album. You and I obviously saw him. It was the last show that you and I saw before the pandemic hit last year. That band is kick ass, man. And I went back and I listened to those albums yesterday, and I hadn't listened in a bit. And man, God, it all came back to me how much I really, really like those albums. And, it's something about like Sherinian's writing. It's like, he's such a rock and roll player, but he does it in this progressive style of music. And I love it. I think it's just like a perfect blend. I mean, I know you're a big Sherinian fan, being a keyboard player and stuff.
Yeah, I actually was listening to, and I think you have the DVD. I never got it, so I just watched the clips on YouTube, the live from Bulgaria or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And when I was listening to that, and that was before the second album came out, obviously. So it's basically what almost the entire first album plus 3-4 covers, whatever it is.
Oh, they got a bunch of covers, yeah.
Yeah, but that album really, to me, is almost like the album that if Jeff Scott Soto was with Yngwie today and he could actually get him to get his crap together, that's kind of almost what it would sound like. It was a really super classical metal kind of. There's one, I think it was the first song even just kicks off, and it's like some of the riffs that Bumblefoot was playing. I was like, man, that almost sounds like Yngwie. But then you get to the second album, and it's a totally different sounding record. Like, it doesn't sound anything at all like the first one, which I think is very cool.
Yeah.
And and Sherinian, he, without him in that band, he definitely, all of his sounds, all of his solos, he's just a great player. You would not sit here and go, oh, let's have Bumblefoot and Derek Sherinian playing a band together. Like,
right.
I don't know, if you had said something like that, say 10 years ago, you'd just be like, that's the stupidest idea I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
But yeah, it fits perfect.
No, yeah, the band just works great. And, like I said earlier, I'm not a fan of Billy Sheehan's bass tone, but I think it doesn't bother me in Sons of Apollo because it is covered up by other things. Whereas it was definitely in the forefront on stuff, on the Winery Dog stuff. But yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you where Sherinian's concerned. He's got, he opens up, coming home with like just a cool riff. Like, you don't generally, even in Dream Theater, you don't have a lot of songs that like are led by a keyboard riff. It's always a guitar thing. Whereas, Sons of Apollo has a couple of those. What the hell is that song that I love so much on, I'm drawing a complete
with the
blank.
classical piano.
Yeah. There's, that one's awesome. God bless America. How am I forgetting this, dude? I really enjoy this stuff, and I'm totally drawing a blank. But I know it's there. It's on the second record.
Oh, Goodbye Divinity.
No, not Goodbye Divinity. The one that you and I, that part in the middle with like the piano and drum breakdown.
Oh yeah.
That is just, where's the damn
King
albums?
of Delusion.
That's what it is. Thank you. Yep, that one is awesome. I love that song. Divine Addiction on the first record just got that really cool like dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Like, I love that one. There's just so much to dig into. And
JG3 Labyrinth. Yeah, I love that song on the first one. That one sounds really cool with the orchestra behind it. The strings are playing all those obvious string parts anyway that Sherinian just played on keyboard before.
Yep.
But yeah, that song smokes live.
Yep. JG3 also says, I've always wondered if the DT guys begrudgingly enjoy Sons of Apollo or Portnoy enjoying Distance Over Time because they're all great albums. That's interesting. That's interesting.
Do you think they can put aside like to even care, or is it just so like, you know what, I just don't care. Like I wish I could care, but I just can't. You know what I mean? Do they just have that going on, or?
I don't know. Chris Townsend, what's up, man? He says, awesome stuff. Agreed. Sons of Apollo kicks ass, man.
Oh, I thought he was talking about us.
Yeah, your show is great. Um, yeah, dude, it's weird because you always get these artists like like Rob Halford says that he never listened to the Ripper stuff and he still hasn't. Um, I'd be interested to know. I mean, you would have to think. I mean, Dream Theater's got what is it now? 5 records with Mangini. Like you would have to think Portnoy at some point would have listened. And I really think that these guys all do. But of course, like the line is, "Oh no, if I'm not involved, I don't listen to it." But how do you know, it's your band. You did it for like over 25 years, and then you're just not going to listen to anything they do, anything your friends do after that. Like I find that hard to believe.
Well, and
So
are they able to listen like objectively, like as a fan, as opposed to like, well, this used to be my band or whatever. Like, I don't know. I'm just curious.
yeah, and honestly, JG3 he brings up a great record, Distance Over Time. Like if you're Portnoy, like you can't deny that that's a kick-ass album. And the Sons of Apollo stuff. I don't. I would have to assume that at least Petrucci would listen to the Sons of Apollo stuff.
I think he might be the only one. Maybe James. Like, I don't think Jordan Rudess or my young would care at all.
No. Well, I mean,
don't think they would care.
Well,
not like negative way, but they'd just be like, you know what? I got so much going on. It's
yeah.
over with. We don't play with him anymore. What do I? Why should I even bother?
Well, especially James. I mean, there was an article on Blabbermouth today where he, was asked, when he last talked to Portnoy or whatever, and he said that he hasn't talked to him since he left the band.
Oh, okay.
He's
well,
like,
then, I guess he wouldn't be able to.
No, I mean, and that's nothing that nobody, not nothing strange. I mean, again, ever since he got caught on that hot mic saying, it's like Dream Theater without the annoying vocals, like he's busting on James's voice and got caught. Like,
right.
and that made the news rounds. I mean, I don't think James is exactly, feeling like extending an olive branch to the guy. So, yeah, Chris Townsend says they listen. They do. I know ego makes them listen. I would think the same thing, man. I would tend to agree with you.
But is it ego, or is it just, I'm just curious what this sounds like. You know what I mean? Why does ego have to come into it? I'm not like disparaging his point, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can see it both ways. I mean, honestly, a lot of these guys do have that ego. He's not wrong there. And they may just be like, screw this guy. I'm not listening to his stuff. I'm not giving it the time of day. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they listen. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. But I lean much more towards the side of the argument that says that they definitely listen to each other's stuff. I mean, I don't know how you don't.
Yeah, I mean, especially because Petrucci had Portnoy play on the last solo album of his again, so you would have to think that they're, he would at least check out some of the Apollo.
Yeah, JG3 says, I've always wondered because Dream Theater and Sons of Apollo are big prog releases, and as a fan of prog music, I would be interested to hear what they're doing. Yeah, just from a musical standpoint. So, I mean, that's pretty much exactly the reason, Jay, why I would think that they would listen to this stuff. It's like they're at heart, they're music fans, and these are their friends doing something. So you would think that they would listen to it. Joe Gebhardt, I was actually going to address something similar to this in a minute. So thank you for jumping in here, Joe. Joe Gebhardt asks, does anyone actually enjoy Portnoy's growls? I thought they were fine in Dream Theater. I wasn't one of the people that had a problem with it. Where did you fall in that argument, Brian? With like the
stuff in like Count of Tuscany and stuff like that, you mean, or
no, or like Nightmare day after day. Like,
yeah, I thought it was all right for what it was. I think maybe the other guys in the band probably at some point thought, all right, this is getting kind of corny. I don't know. I could be totally wrong there. It didn't bother me because it wasn't done, in enough songs to where it was overbearing or anything.
Yeah. The one thing that I noticed about the Sons of Apollo stuff in comparing it to the new Dream Theater stuff, you can tell that like the guys in Dream Theater, it's mostly Petrucci, obviously. like he's kind of progressed as a lyric writer, and it's it's good stuff. Whereas the Sons of Apollo material, obviously Portnoy probably writes a lot of that stuff. In listening to it, it's still pretty generic.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of Jeff Scott Soto. He's always kind of trapped in that sort of 80s metal, kind of vein, which we need people in that vein, like
Yeah.
I'm okay with it, for what it is, but I think that has a lot to do with him, to be honest.
Right. Chris Townsend, Cannibal Corpse sound. Like, I don't think it's quite that far. Oh my God, yeah. Dream Theater doing Hammer Smashed Face, or Sons of Apollo doing Hammer Smashed Face.
Stripped, raped, and strangled. As if one or two isn't bad enough. Let's get all three in a song title.
Right. Yeah, no, I think lyrically is where the two bands kind of start branching off for me. And the one thing, it's always been, I don't know how you feel about this, but for me it's always been really easy to describe Sons of Apollo to people, and not because it's like, oh, it's like Dream Theater stuff, like, but I have some friends that actually enjoy Sons of Apollo that don't get into Dream Theater, and to me they don't sound overly different, but I think it's easy to describe, at least for me. So I'm interested to get your opinion. And
well, how do you describe them then?
I
guess is my question.
I was getting there, but I always tell people that they're like a darker, heavier Dream Theater. It's a little more straightforward and not as colorful musically.
I'll go back to what I said about especially the first album. If Yngwie actually ever got his crap together, I think they're, especially the first album, more similar almost to a lighter / proggier version of Symphony X, maybe. I don't know.
Do you think?
I think they're close. I think they're a little bit closer to that than they are Dream Theater. There's got to be a band. We got to find a band between those two. What would be like between those two, almost?
Man.
I have no idea.
I know. As soon as you said it, I was like, "What else would it be like?"
I mean, it's kind of. I would almost say it's a more metal version of Deep Purple. Maybe I think that's a decent.
Really, Deep Purple.
Yeah.
See, I think they're way proggier than Deep Purple.
Well, proggier / more metal, maybe.
Yeah.
Oprah or Opeth? No, they don't sound like Opeth at all. Oprah. All right, Joe, get off the internet.
Quit drinking, Joe. They sound like Oprah. Phrygian scale for you. Phrygian scale for you. Phrygian scale for you.
No, I will agree with JG3, that last comment.
Okay, JG3 says, now you see, I disagree. I think Dream Theater can actually be heavier than Sons of Apollo. I think Sons of Apollo is more rocking, light metalish. Lots of organ rock and Deep Purple.
Yeah, rock. Yeah, there you go. See that.
See, well,
I think it's pretty good. Do you remember Yngwie's album Odyssey with Joel and Turner? Like, that was one of the greatest metal albums of all time. But he could never come close to doing that. I think it's a decent extension of something along those lines, but it's not quite as, I don't want to say cartoonish, for lack of a better word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, I'd see, in terms of like my comment about the Sons of Apollo stuff being heavier, I think it's because it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have that musical light to it. They don't have a Barstool Warrior. They don't have, Another Day. Stuff like that. It's all pretty much in that darker, more brooding,
heavier minor key.
Yeah,
all the time. Yeah,
exactly.
No, that's true.
So that's why I was mentioning it that way. And also, Bumblefoot has this really weird way of riffing that kind of keeps you on edge, because he's got that double neck guitar and he does a lot of riffs on the slide part of it, like the fretless. And so as a result, it's not just straight, like, note to note. You'll get this like almost sitar-ish, and it kind of like, it has a little angst to it as a result. So, that kind of adds to the vibe of it, which, I mean, personally, I think that's awesome. It's I do not like slide guitar or sitar, but for some reason when he does it on an electric guitar, it's pretty cool. I think it's very unique. And also his solo style, it's definitely got the melody that Petrucci has, but he's also got that really interesting chattery thing that he does, because he's got a thimble magnetically attached to the guitar, and he just puts it on his fingers, like he does all that like the quick tapping way up in 24th fret and all that stuff, so that it does all this goofy chattering stuff. And so I think all those things just combine to, I guess, you guys might be mentioning, when you're talking about heaviness, you're probably talking about stuff like, the Dark Eternal Night, things like that. Nightmare to Remember, beginning and ending of that song. But I think that Sons of Apollo, while they don't get that heavy, they're kind of heavy, and it stays there. So that's what I was referring to. But I mean,
no, I agree with that statement.
Yeah, and live they're awesome. I mean, like I said, you and I saw them in Battle Creek last year, and you were kicking yourself. You're like, man, I knew I should have gone to that first tour.
That one at House of Blues where there was like 20 people there.
Yeah,
you were front row or whatever.
Yep, it's 300 people, dude. I was like, holy crap! And God, that was awesome. It's so crazy, and it's like, I think that's I'm surprised it hasn't taken off more than it has, because I really thought that Dream Theater fans would latch onto it, because it is similar. But I'm kind of glad that it didn't, because there's going to be another record. I happen to know that, unless something has changed in the last few months, there's going to be another Sons of Apollo record. And they play these little places, like the place you and I saw them, capacity was 335 people, and we paid $22. So you get, and the opener was Tony McAlpine.
Well,
and you get to get that quality of musicianship and virtuosity in a tiny little place where you're all up close, there is no bad seat, and it's only $22. Like, what the hell is that?
Well, and I swear this is this is not a pun, but this is like literally a sign of the times. Like, if this project had come out maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago or something, I think it would be maybe more, I don't want to say well received, but I just think the climate is just musically, it's just, Tony McAlpine, the only way he can make money is basically by giving guitar lessons. I mean, that's, he gets paid for session work. I mean, that's sad. It bums me out to know that, like, he doesn't make money selling a solo. His newest album, I think to date, still is not even available on CD yet, because he knows he can't make the money back that it costs to even press it.
Yeah.
Because of streaming and everything. And it's like,
yeah,
I don't know. I wish we could at least just get back to some sort of a happy medium between the streaming thing. And like, as much as I'm talking about, I love all these new albums, like I'm listening to them all on my Spotify. I don't mean to go off on a tangent here.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
To the other side, but it's like, and I keep saying, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and I'll order this, off Amazon, or I'll order from their website. And I never do, because like, all right, well, I don't even have a place to play the CD now anyway, other than in my DVD player.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm only going to listen to it on here. But it's like, I feel like I do really want to support these artists, because if you don't, it's like, I don't know, it's just all going to go away. And it's like you said, I wasn't surprised at all that they could chose a place that had 300, because they knew they could probably sell that out, and they probably couldn't get any more. It's sad.
Well, it's like you said, it's a sign of the times. And let's face it, dude, it's a new world today. I got one in there myself. I've been sitting on that for like 4 minutes. But no, to your point, yeah, I mean, the unfortunate thing is that, the guys in the band have said that they don't want to play just like bars and stuff like that. They don't want to do that. And so it's like, when they get that mindset, it's like, well, then why are they going to keep making music, which really blows. But to your point about, physical media and stuff like that, I'm in complete agreement. JG3, I was just about to say this. He says, a lot of times I just buy the CD to support the artist. I rarely use my CDs anymore with lossless streaming. Yeah, I do the same thing. If one of my favorite bands is putting something out, I definitely stream it, but I always pay for it. Even if it's just buying the digital stuff, even if I can get it for free.
All right, Kale, stop.
I'm not putting that up there, Kale. We're not doing this.
Come on, put it up there. He's like our longest listener ever.
All right. Kale says these puns really don't need a resurrection day.
If you sat on that one for 4 minutes, that was definitely asphyxiation, right?
I am not doing it. I am not doing it, man. No. Not even doing it. But yeah, so I always buy. Lately I've been buying the vinyl versions because I'm trying to collect my favorite band's stuff on vinyl. But before I got into that, I definitely would purchase the digital stream, even though you could do it for free on like Amazon Unlimited. Because you want bands to be able to continue to do this. And I just think I'm with you. It sucks that it's not the way that it used to be. The release of an album is not the same. I mean, not to date ourselves, but I mean, I remember like riding my bike to the store to get, taking a half hour to, buy the CD when it came out. And, it was this build up to it and having liner notes and everything. And I really miss that. It just feels like music has been cheapened. And, I've said many times that I think that, the story that Petrucci presents in The Astonishing is about that. It's like a story about, he wrote out of frustration that, it says right there in The Gift of Music, people just don't have the time for music anymore. It's like, people just think you can just steal it. And then, people get mad when their favorite bands stop putting out material. They're like, oh, this sucks. I want more records. Well, you didn't pay for anything. Would you do something that's your livelihood if you just stopped making money at it? If you're working at your job and one day they come to you like, yeah, you're only, you got to keep doing this, but we're only going to pay you a third of what you were making previously. What are you going to do? You're going to go, screw that. I'm not doing this.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious that, of all the things that like Lars Ulrich, I think he's kind of insane. Like he was dead on with the whole Napster thing. I mean, he was 100% in the right. Yep. And, the kids, were like, well, he's rich. What is, he doesn't need the money. It's like, that's not really what this is about,
Yeah.
And like, yeah. I mean, I almost feel guilty. Like when I do go on my Spotify, cause it's like it's just too easy. This is the way I look at it. And I think he or some other artists have said, you don't have any skin in the game at all as a listener anymore. Zero. You just $10 a month, get unlimited access to anything, or just go to YouTube, unlimited access to anything for free. Yeah. Or go to 5 million illegal streaming sites, unlimited access to anything for free. There's no skin in the game. You don't have, like you said, you don't have to ride your bike there. You don't have to save up money to go buy it. You don't have to. We don't have to wait. You don't have to. There's no anticipation. So it's like everything. It just sort of turns into this giant homogenized, thing of like there's too much out there and it gets lost. And like you said, why would you want to make a new album?
Yeah. Dan Russell says, what's up, fellas? What is up, Dan? Thanks for jumping in with us. Appreciate you. Kale says, to your point about Lars, he says Lars was in the right, but he was the wrong spokesperson for it. I would totally agree with that. Dude, it's like I said, it feels like music has been cheapened in a way. Like you said, you don't have to work as hard for it. You get it immediately. We just had this with The View from the Top of the World. We were all pumped up for release day, and it was awesome. But it's like you just wake up and turn on your phone, like there's my stuff.
Well, we had it a week. We had it like a week earlier too, and I was like, yeah. We both were pretty good about staying away. I think we each listened to like one other song or whatever. But
yeah.
Still, it was like we had zero skin in the game. Someone literally handed us a copy of a CD from one of the greatest bands in the world that we worship. And yep. I still haven't even bought it yet. I mean, I feel guilty saying that.
I pre-ordered it, so that was good. I paid for the digital, and I also bought the vinyl, so I do have that. But yeah, I mean, to your point, I mean, people make fun of Portnoy for being in like 72,481 bands, but you got to think. I mean, it's what he does for a living. He's probably doing this because it's how he has to pay the bills. with the way music is, especially the type of stuff that he plays, he can't just be in one band. I mean, if he's not going to be in Dream Theater, he can't be in just one band. He's got to pay the bills. It's like,
Yeah.
so he's got to do all this stuff and like go on tour and everything, and sell his merch and all these different things. And I mean, it just it sucks, man. It's I miss how it used to be. I know that's a curmudgeon old guy way of thinking, but I listen to all these music biographies and stuff on audiobook, and man, the way that things used to work is just crazy. Talk about stuff like Judas Priest and whatnot, and some of these bands that ended up absolutely massive, and they had like their first 4 or 5 records didn't do shit, but the label, like, they were into like developing an artist and building them slowly over time, and that sort of thing works. And now it's just a microwave society. It's like, do it now. And I know that for a fact myself. And this is almost 20 years in the rearview mirror. When I was doing my original band and we almost got a record deal, we showcased for 15 majors in New York City in March of 2003. And, we were told flat out that, we don't just stick you with a producer. The band has to have the songs already done themselves. And then we'll put you with a producer who can polish it up and then put out a record. So it wasn't even like, okay, well, your songs are pretty good, so we're going to sign you because they have potential, and this producer's going to take it over the top and make it great. Like, they didn't even do that. And that's already, like I say, like, almost 20 years in the rearview mirror. So now it's just, God, it sucks. And for bands of this caliber to have to live like that, it's just, it's insane. You see people like Justin Bieber selling bajillions of records, and Sons of Apollo's playing for 335 people. It just doesn't seem right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was hilarious. What was the one? You probably saw this interview with Sammy Hagar, and they were talking about like newer rock bands or whatever, and it was whatever band had sold like, they were the top selling rock band of that week or something. They'd sold 3,000. He's like, if I had put out, one of my new albums, I sold 3,000 albums in a week. Like, my manager, the record company would be trying to push me down a flight of stairs. What I mean? like they
Right.
put a contract out on me. Like, what are you doing? 3,000 in a week. You know what I mean? Like, we had to sell 70,000. You know what I mean? Like, it was like,
Yep.
I don't know. I just think there has to be some kind of happy medium, but I don't think that's going to happen because, as we've talked a million times, the people, the hardcore people that have been in this game for, going on 20, 30 years now, they would be the ones to have to change it because the younger ones don't care. So it's like,
Yeah.
and it's not like you said, the curmudgeon thing. It's not going to go backwards. I just wish that there was more of a happy medium. There's just too much access to there's too much access and there's no anticipation. One of the comments said something about, it was a joke. The excitement of a release is different nowadays.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I was just doing some math, and it's, there's a comment, where is it here? JG3 says the cost has also shifted to the live venues, and it's really expensive to go to shows now because that's how bands have to make money. I just did some math. Like I said, at the top of the show, I'm going to the House of Blues in Chicago at the end of January to catch Mammoth and Dirty Honey. It's a co-headlining tour. And I looked up the capacity, and if you fill every room in the place, and of course that's not just the main room, there's 1,800. You can fit 1,800 people in there, and the tickets are $27. So that's $48,600. And after you take out fees and costs and all that stuff, with the amount of guys you have to pay, that's not a lot of money.
No,
I mean that's crazy. So, you're right, Jay, that's how they make their living. And so it's just, but $27 for a co-headlining show like that is nuts. That's why, the other aspect to this, I always jump into the conversation when people bitch about these paid meet and greets that bands do, like the VIP packages. And people say, oh, well, this is stupid. Why would I pay to meet my favorite band and all this stuff? And it's like, well, you guys got to understand, like, they're doing that to replace the money they lose from record sales these days.
Yep.
Like, that's all that is. They don't want to gouge fans and all that stuff, but they're trying to make a living. And also I never understand why people bitch about that, because like, if you don't want to pay it, then don't do it. Like, what's so hard about that? Like,
Well,
you don't have to.
and do you think, like, how it was like when we did it in Chicago, like it's almost like uncomfortable. Like, okay, the band has to literally take a picture with every single. You think they like doing that?
Yeah.
They would much rather have the album sales and the income from that than like just it's sort of almost an uncomfortable forced just weird experience where there's like there's this barrier, but the barrier is not there, but it is there, because you don't want to
Yep.
like totally bother them. But hey, I paid. You're supposed to smile and take a picture with me, and I don't know. The whole thing is just it's just a really weird concept.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like when we did it, they were like, no, absolutely no handshakes, only a fist bump or an elbow bump.
Right.
They got to worry about people grabbing their hands too tightly
Right.
or something, doing damage. They got to worry about people being gross and getting germs all over them. It's like, yeah, I mean, you want to meet the fans and all that stuff, but some people just take it too damn far. It's like that guy that busted his head open
Oh, yeah.
on the front of the stage. Like, I can only imagine what that guy and his buddy were saying to the band as they're going through the line. Like, but we got to tell that story real quick. But so when Brian and I went to Chicago to do the for the Distance Over Time tour, we actually did the VIP meet and greet, and we got front row, pretty much center. And there was these guys like a few people down from us, and they were like metal guy, they were like big tall dudes, and they were bigger and really long hair, and they were just you would picture them at like a freaking Mastodon show or some super heavy thing or something. So they open with A Nightmare to Remember. And this guy, both of them just start thrashing, like headbanging like crazy, and we're just like, damn, dude, all right. They're barely 3-4 minutes into the song. We look over, and the one dude's got his face in his hands. He's bent over, and he's bleeding all over the place. This idiot had banged his head so hard, not paid attention to where he was at. He cracked his forehead on the corner of the monitor and just busted his forehead wide open. So like security had to come down and walk him out. They had to get like bleach soaked towels and wipe off the stage and the speaker and stuff. So this guy dropped like $320 and caught maybe 5 minutes of the entire show. It's like, nice work, dude. So
yeah, if that would have been someone who was with me, I'd just be like, all right, well, bye.
I would have too. I would have too for that price tag. I'm like,
sorry.
Yeah, if you're too much of an idiot, like that's not gonna hamper my ability to have a good time. Like,
well, it's just crazy because like he comes running down like he just got into was just picked for Price is Right or something, and he's like. He's like, whoa, his hair was like halfway, it's super long hair. It was flying each way. And we're like, oh man, that dude's really into it. And then, like you said, you look over 4 minutes later and you're like, oh my God, his whole hand is covered in blood. Like his shirt's covered in blood. The stage is covered in blood.
It was
like,
so messy, dude. It was so messy. And I was just laughing. I was like, you dipshit, man. Like, you spent $300 for this. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. Like, how do you not know that's there? Oh my God. So Dan Russell says, I remember when James LaBrie's solo band did a small tour and they played the Starland Ballroom in New Jersey. I think there was 75 people there, but it was awesome. Yeah, dude, again, getting to see musicians of this caliber up close and intimately like this is so awesome. I know I saw Marty Friedman. He's done a couple tours of the U.S. in recent years, and I saw him twice. And I saw him at a place that holds, like, each of them holds maybe 250 people. And it was about 3/4 of the way full. And his backing band is absolutely phenomenal. And they move around like crazy. They have amazing stage presence. And again, those tickets were like $20. And, I'm from, he's like 10 feet away from me. And I'll never forget, I took my stepson to the second one. It's at this little tiny place called the Grog Shop up here in Cleveland. And it holds like 150 people, like 200, whatever at most. And he was doing VIP stuff. And his VIP was, it was like $25 for the ticket or $70 for the VIP. And the VIP was like a free t-shirt, a free CD. And you get to go on their tour bus and sit there and bullshit with them for a while. I mean, it was like the craziest thing. For $70, I was like, hell yeah, I'm doing that. So,
So what
You know,
was the question? What was the smallest turnout for, let's say, the biggest band or whatever,
um,
or biggest star, whatever, compared to what you would, what they should have probably had there?
I opened for Testament on the Low tour, and I don't think there was even like 80 people there. I mean, it was at a bar in Akron called Ron's Crossroads. It's not there
Oh,
anymore, I don't
Ron's
think. But
Crossroads.
yep. But
I
yeah,
saw
so
Ace Frehley there.
right, but you know the size of that stage. I mean, imagine Testament up there. That was just so powerful. But yeah, there couldn't have been 80 people there, even though it was a tiny venue. It still wasn't a great turnout. Um, Unfortunately, the one that stands out the most to me is that Dream Theater show in Lakewood that I saw on the Astonishing tour, the second leg, because there was, God, it was in the high school auditorium first of all, and second of all, there was maybe 100 people there. I mean, it was like we said before, it was like just a few shows before they started doing encores of other stuff and not just doing the Astonishing and leaving the stage. Um, And honestly, the first Mangini show that I saw on the Dramatic Turn tour, it was only about 2/3 full at a venue that holds about 2,000, like Nautica downtown. It was about 2,000 there.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the worst one was Testament for sure.
So the small, I wouldn't say this was worse just because it kind of not as known of a guy, but Brian Howe, who was the second singer in Bad Company,
Mm-hmm.
did like 4 albums I love. I always loved he had that gigantic, huge 80s rock voice,
Yeah.
It's recently, I think he passed away about 2-3 years ago. But I was, my old roommate worked at Scene, and once in a while he'd give me free tickets, be like, "Hey man, can you just, get you free tickets to go to the show. If you just write a review for the paper or whatever." I said, "Oh, cool." So it was at Peabody's Cafe down in the Flats, and
Yes.
I don't, I don't think there was 50 people there. I mean, if there was, I'd be stunned because
Okay.
this is like 1990. Geez, I don't know. Let's see, 5 or 6, I guess, somewhere between 1994 and 96 ish. And that was a time when every one of those like smaller type clubs had shows going on, plus the big shows. Like shows were just everywhere. Like
Yeah.
you could open up a scene and be like, "Oh my god, there's like 7 national bands playing on a freaking Wednesday." You know what I mean? And like
Yep.
6 different clubs. And he was walking around with his wireless. I mean, he sang like a bird. He sounded great. He looked, he was in shape. Like it was just one of the greatest shows I've ever seen. And I'm like, "Oh my god, this is Brian Howe from Bad Company." And some of the best albums I always love, like Dangerous Age, Holy Water. I love those albums.
Right.
And he just sang great, and I just felt so bad. I'm like, man, people just don't. A guy that can sing this good, that has this much talent, doesn't deserve to be singing in Cleveland in front of. I mean, and I'm saying 50, and the more I'm thinking about, I don't know, it might have been like 30. I mean, it was just, it was like, I don't know, $14 even if you bought a ticket,
Yeah.
if that.
Yeah. Dude, another one I just thought of as you were talking. I opened for Firehouse in the very late 90s. I think might have even been 2000, but so obviously it was not the hip thing anymore. But we were playing at the Flying Machine out in Lorraine,
Oh
and
God.
that was another bomb scare, and great live band. I mean, they sounded fantastic, but yeah, just no turnout whatsoever, and it sucks, man. It really sucks. I actually have nightmares about that. Like my favorite bands, like I'll go see my favorite bands, and they'll have like 40 people there, and I'm freaking out because I'm like, oh no, they're never gonna tour again because nobody will pay to see them. Like I actually have legitimate nightmares about that. And the other nightmare I have is getting asked to fill in for one of my favorite bands, like on the fly, and I don't know the lyrics, or they only pick the songs that are way out of my vocal range. So I have to get up there like I've had I know that's totally off the topic, but yeah, so I always have that fear, that the band's just gonna be like, screw this, I quit, and you're not gonna be able to get music from them anymore. So yeah, it's I hope it turns around. I hope this COVID thing goes away. I was supposed to see Sammy Hagar last year. I had 6th row tickets in front of Michael Anthony at our amphitheater here at Blossom, and they had to cancel that. And I was like, damn it! Like, when am I ever going to see a show like that again? Like, so. But I don't know.
What's your insider info without releasing too much on the third Sons of Apollo album? So is that like currently underway, or it's going to be underway soon, or we don't know?
It's not underway to my knowledge, but the fact that it will be done comes directly from a member of the band.
Okay, I know who that is. I won't say.
Yeah. So, I don't want to betray confidences, but
it's Bumblefoot. We're great friends.
Yeah. Sure, you told me so.
Yeah.
So yeah, but one of the band members was interviewed in the last few months, and off air told my buddy who interviewed him, like, yeah, that's gonna happen. So whether or not it's their last one, I don't know. Hopefully not. Like I say, I hope they keep going. That's one of those things that, like, as we talk about this, and then we'll close up for the night. But, that's one of those things that it doesn't make money, and they're not happy about the size venues that they're playing. Like they want to get on an opening slot on like a big tour, like an Iron Maiden or something like that. It hasn't happened for them yet.
Right.
But it seems to me to be one of those projects that you could keep going with, and just you don't have to tour behind it. That's the one thing I would say about the tours going down in income and stuff like that, is that you could do these records as like pet projects. As long as you've got other things to pay the bills, I don't see why a band like Sons of Apollo couldn't be like, yeah, we're not going to play live, but we're going to still put out records. Like, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, the only one. Well, I mean, what do the rest of those guys really have going on? I mean, they don't. None of them have like one giant mainstay thing that's like, oh God, I got to, So they could tour, but at the same time, they're free to do 8 million things, I guess, if they want.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, that was a great conversation, man. We don't usually get to go completely off script and just BS, so that was fun. So good conversation. I'm glad we got to bring up Sons of Apollo, because I know you and I are big fans of that. So that was a good time. We will be here again in 2 weeks, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Facebook, YouTube, talkingintoinfinity.com, and the CMSnetwork.com. Do not forget, December 23rd, we are going to be doing our big fan hangout episode. So we want to have all you guys tune in with us. Jump in. It'll be probably a little bit longer than usual. Just going to hang out and BS, whatever you guys want to talk about. If you want to be on the show and come on camera with Brian and I, shoot us an email at talkingintoinfinity@gmail.com. And we'd like to get some of you guys actually to help host the show that night and get a bunch of you guys in here, and all of you that are really cool and, come in the chat and stuff. JG, Puzziani, Joe Gebhardt, Dan Russell, of course, our buddies Cale McLeish and Adam Rishog. You guys are more than welcome to jump on camera with us. So that, again, is December 23rd. Cale McLeish. Can I just say yes now? Of course you can. Of course you can. So,
well, if you don't want to be on the show, send us a fax and tell us why. Like I don't know, in 300 words or less, why you do not want to be on the show, like
a telegram,
or have anything to do with it whatsoever.
A telegram, right? So so we'll have that coming up in December, and also we're working out the details for our big double episode for Images and Words. We're going to be doing our album deep dive, and also talking to Monty Colvin of the Galactic Cowboys, and he's going to tell us some cool stuff about actually touring with the Dream Theater guys for Images and Words as it was blowing up suddenly because of the success of Pull Me Under. So Joe Gebhardt says, I'll be driving to Missouri from North Carolina. Won't be able to comment, but sure will listen. Well, that's awesome. Okay. Well, and if you stop somewhere, man, feel free, because you can do it from your phone. So no big deal there. But so 2 weeks from tonight, we will see you guys again. Facebook, YouTube, talkingintoinfinity.com, and the CMSnetwork.com. Thank you all for checking out another episode of Talking Into Infinity. Brian, it was a blast. I will see you in 2 weeks, man.
See you, bud.